If you are a B2B service-based business owner and you are looking to gain more clients, create more impact and more revenue in your business, tune in to Amplify Your Marketing Message with Campbell Rapin. Every week, we're going to take you through how to build an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing message, and making offers that convert consistently. We'll see you all on the inside. Welcome back. Perhaps you are in a place where you are not quite where you had hoped to be with your business impact, business revenue, or client growth. And if that's the case, today we're going to do a mass reset for everybody here listening to this episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Campbell Rapin. I am a business mentor and I work with clients to lay the foundations to create repeatable success. And I believe firmly that business is elegantly simple, and it is about knowing what to focus on to create movement. And movement builds momentum. And so anytime that people in my ecosystem, whether they are clients, peers, or even the person looking at herself in the mirror, are not where they want to be, it's a time to check in and to take a course correction. So I'm going to share with you today 3 things that you can do if you are wanting or needing a reset. One of the big storylines of my business origin comes from the fact when I started my first business, I worked it 1 hour a day. And I worked it in a community which was building businesses together. And what I was observing was the difference between my 1 hour a day and what I saw my peers doing, because there was a gap. And that gap led to questions, and it actually led to the birth of this business I have with Clear Acceleration, where I guide and support creatives to build profitable businesses by knowing what sales and marketing to use and how to execute it for results predictably. And it was this. People I was observing who were struggling were doing what I call the hokey pokey in their business. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They would wake up one week, be hugely inspired, do a flurry of activity that did not create immediate results, and then take their foot off the gas. And the next week they were MIA in the witness protection program. Ever been there? Hands up if that's you. The hokey pokey is a highly ineffective business strategy because it goes against the grain of the natural laws of the universe, which is about movement, where the whole focus is truthfully in the science. An object in motion will stay in motion and take less effort to do so than starting from scratch. So knowing that movement is key and taking steps consistently creates the crescendo of results. Right about now, if you do not have the results you want, chances are you're not in good movement. You're not in momentum with your business. And momentum takes time to build. I often use the analogy that most businesses take 90 days or more to create a cold lead or a potential client buyer to a yes and a start date. And some businesses, it's longer. And yes, to be fair, on the opposite end, some are shorter. But it's not instantaneous. That's the most important thing to know, unless they're the unicorn. And don't bet your future on unicorns. Build momentum. If that is true, which it is, knowing what to focus on is key. Because if right now you're saying, I feel stalled, I might be doing the hokey pokey, Christine, then going out to the mirror, looking yourself eyeball to eyeball and saying, well, if I truly want the result, I must get into movement. You will have that movement piece start to build from today. And that is my invitation to you. So there are 3 steps to resetting anytime you feel you've lost momentum. And it starts with number 1. It's going back to the drawing board. If you do not have the client growth you want in your business, there are 3 reasons why that might be the case. Getting clear with which of these you are is where everything starts from. Number 1, it's saying, I don't know how to do this. Number 2 is to say, I know how, and I'm taking actions against those how, but it's not creating results. Number 3 is saying, I know how, I'm just honestly not doing it. Which are you? Are you someone who says, I don't know how? I know what to do, it's not working? or I know what to do and I just don't do it. Get honest with where you are right now. And this is the blank sheet of paper you need to get out to start moving. And know, where are you? Because all three, good news, my friends, is a solvable problem. Your invitation to start movement is to start solving for the problem you personally are facing right now. If you don't know how to build a business, I want you to go to my website, ChristineCampbellRapin.com, and there's going to be a ton of resources on there to help figure out the how. How is a lazy question because it puts the onus on somebody else, when in fact, you're the engine. Go get the resources you need. And my invitation is maybe look at the Business Scale Accelerator because I will guide you through the how so that you don't get left behind. Number two is if you know how and you're taking action, but it's not leading anywhere, then I want you to just hear this with great kindness. There is some blind spots in your strategy. And doing more of the same will not create a different result. So seek guidance to where the blind spots lie so you can take corrective action and have that breakthrough you're seeking. If you're in number three, which is I know how and I'm not doing it, I want you to go back to the drawing board and say, why am I even doing this? You need to really understand that your heart must pull you past convenience for you to see results. And it can't be on someone else's responsibility. You can't advocate this to somebody else. It is up to you to be the engine, and you need to know why is this necessary. But go back to the drawing board. What do you want? And there's another episode here in the podcast. Go find it. I will tag it in the show notes below, which is getting clear on what you want. Clarity is the ultimate accelerator, but saying, this is what I want. This is the result I'm seeking. This is where I stand today, and there's a gap. Solve the gap is the invitation. But get a clean sheet of paper and say, what do I really want? What do I want for the back half of the year? What do I want for the next 90 days? What do I want for this week? What is my success measure for just today? But it starts with a what do you want question. Why is it non-negotiable? Because again, if you are simply fantasizing and putting affirmations out there or visions out there, but don't know it's your path and it's not a non-negotiable, it's likely why you are in the hokey pokey. So you need a commitment, an all-in commitment to the drawing board that says, this is what I want to go after. From there, step number two is to focus on a strategy and one strategy at a time. This is sometimes where we end up in trouble. Strategies, like an engine starting from zero, take time to start to rotate that wheel. And the challenge I see, especially with us creatives, is that we start building one strategy and it doesn't have maybe a fast enough turn in the wheel or a fast enough ROI, and the results are not happening in a nanosecond because we have missed expectations of what it really takes, that we then say the problem is the strategy. The problem is not the strategy. The problem is likely that you haven't built enough momentum against the strategy to see the results. And I want you to be thinking about the analogy of popcorn. And particularly if you are someone who, like me, is kind of in their late 40s, think of Jiffy Pop, which is that one popcorn thing that's in a container with a stick and you shake it over the fireplace. And eventually what happens with popcorn that you make on the stove? Nothing happens immediately. But you keep shaking, you keep staying in movement. And eventually what happens is all of the popcorn starts to pop. That's about choosing the strategy. That popcorn would not pop if I took it off the stove. That popcorn would not pop without burning if I didn't stay in movement. And so I want you to be thinking about, what is your strategy? And I said, any strategy will work, but what is the one that will work for you? Knowing how you want to do business, who you're wanting to attract, and creating a commitment to it. Staying in the lane of your strategy to build momentum is actually how you will see results. So at minimum, you need to stay with this strategy for at least a period of 90 days and watch and monitor what is moving. Movement is the key. It's not yet momentum, but the strategy of deciding what it works and then build your mastery around that strategy. one of the greatest things I work with my clients is no two clients have the same strategy. And if you've been watching our interview series here in this podcast, you will hear also that no two business owners have the same strategy that's creating results for them. That should indicate to you that don't follow somebody else's strategy, find yours and perfect it. Invest in your commitment to learning it, to building confidence with it, to executing it, and staying in that lane. Because that movement that is going to be a crescendo has to build, and you have to be fine-tuning some of the maybe communication in it, but the speed is yours to choose, the message is yours to articulate, and staying in the lane is a commitment that has to be non-negotiable. But you started from a blank sheet, you got clear on your vision, you've chosen one strategy to perfect, and you need to perfect that strategy before you add any complexity. Complexity is the root of the challenge. Don't add all the stuff. It's not the shininess that works. You can build on simplicity. And simplicity is what you can execute. Simplicity is what you build skills and capabilities on. And simplicity is ultimately what builds momentum the fastest. Stay the lane. Number 3 is that you need to recognize if you've got an identified plan and you know how you're going to get there, the key third step is to create the plan and execute it, which is bridge any gaps you find. What can you do with intentional thought? How can you map out the strategy? How can you get clear? What are you going to do? What's the speed at which you're going to travel? And then go execute it. Notice I didn't just say plan and then plan and then plan again. Execute the plan. You will never have perfect information. You will never have perfect foresight. What you do need to do to build momentum is take the first step and only focus on the first step. Fight the urge to want certainty in the steps that you will take. A roadmap will encounter boulders. It will encounter setbacks. It will encounter speeds that feel like you're running at a fast rate. It is dynamic being a business owner. But I want you to know that choosing to stay in movement will help you accelerate the results and say definitively, I'm done the hokey pokey. I'm not going to give up my commitment to myself. And many of you might have heard this story here on the podcast or at other places you've heard me talk about my business. I built my first business 1 hour a day. I knew what to focus on. I needed guidance and support on that journey. And when I really decided to accelerate the speed, I got resources. I didn't stay at 1 hour a day. I didn't stay trying to figure everything out on my own. I invested in mentors. I invested in masterminds. I invested in skill development. And I also got honest with myself that I was capable. I was willing to commit to build confidence. And I got out of my way and said, I will show up non-negotiably. And I know what to focus on. And I executed that. And that's what's built the massive momentum in my business. And so there's 3 things I want you to remember as you go forward from today. If you are not where you wanted to be, that's 100% okay. But recognize that the actions that led you to here are what will create your future. If you are not happy with that math, a course correction is needed. A course correction is simply resetting. And you can reset as many times as you need. Just don't quit the field. And the field is your dreams, your business, the ripples it will create, the impact you'll make, and the income it will create for you to build a life you want. But to do a reset, you need to get back to the drawing board, get out a blank sheet of paper. What do you want? And figure out why that's a non-negotiable, because you have to be your engine. From there, I want you to find the strategy that you will use to build the steps to get you where you want to go. 1 strategy is where I would start. Simple, simple, simple. Build capabilities around that, perfect that strategy, and put your blinders on and say, don't get distracted by every new tactic that you see. Don't get distracted by following and observing other people. Stay your lane. Do the work. Connect to your vision often. Hear your own voice reaffirming that the vision is going to happen, and you're clearly having a strategy to build the stepping stones to get you there. Recognize strategies are going to maybe flex. There's going to be some dynamic movement in it. But the goal is I will stay and ride the movement. And I know that it will build momentum, but that momentum sometimes, sweetheart, is not nanoseconds away. 90 days plus to build momentum. So if you don't stay the lane, people don't stay with you. And they need to have faith, trust that you are going to be here when they're ready to work with you. And number 3, of course, it is get the plan moving. Create the plan, recognize the gap, build the capabilities, build the confidence, and execute. You're the engine of your business. A reset happens to all of us. And just because things aren't happening like the Jiffy Pop right away, stay in movement. Take quitting off the table. And recognize that some seasons are Mach 10 hair on fire and others are slower seasons. But staying in movement is key. Even when I was in my first early days of business and I was still had a lot of moving parts and commitments of my time, children in sports, planning weddings, traveling for a corporate job, what was key is that I said, I will stay in movement. And honestly, that is the biggest difference why people come to work with me. Because they say to themselves, I watch you stay in movement. I feel like you're everywhere. It's not true. I'm not working as hard as you maybe perceive me to be working, but I'm very disciplined on knowing the strategy, staying in my lane, executing, and being very clear on the why for me. And so they kept saying, I feel exhausted, overwhelmed, stuck. And then I get a week of spurt of inspiration and I go execute hard and then it doesn't work. I said, well, stop doing the hokey pokey. Commit to whatever your speed can be that you say, I can do that. And then guess what you need to do? Show up and do that. If you need some guidance, I said, come visit the ecosystem that I built, ChristineCampbellRapin.com. I want to direct you to a resource on the podcast page, which is going to be about how do you create movement in your marketing. If you want to amplify your marketing message and you want to attract more buyers, you need to understand that the whole goal is to think about what does my audience need to hear, feel, see to start moving? What do I as the business owner need to create that builds that momentum? And be clear to both the reflection in the mirror and to the outbound world that you're creating as the business owner. What do I want the movement to be? And am I in movement that is sequential to build momentum? Pulling the pieces together is necessary to see results. But go visit that podcast page, get that resource so you can see where your gaps are with your marketing message. Bridge the gaps. And if you need some support, of course, come ask. I look forward to seeing you all on our next episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message. Go grab that resource. And until the next time, take your course correction. Every day counts. Today, commit to building momentum, saying not one day, but today is day one. The back half of the year will be amazing when you start showing up. I'm cheering for you, my friends. We'll see you all on the inside. That's a wrap on another amazing episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message with me, your host, Christine Campbell Rapin. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss another great episode. And be sure to visit ChristineCampbellRapin.com/podcast to get a free resource on how to master your marketing message. We'll see you all on our next episode.